Good day. This is the second video for Monday, the 28th of October, 2019. Oh, you ever have that feeling of something when somebody's fingernails on a chalkboard? I just did that with a picture I'm holding in my hand. Now, to give you a little idea, I mean, I'm talking to you from the home quarter here. I'm going to show you a little picture that is coming up on this picture was taken 13 years ago. The gentleman that's beside me there is my stepfather. He passed going on 13 years on November 7th. November 11th is when we buried him. The team in front, we just broke that team for the fall fair that year. It was brand new and fresh. Give you a little idea. This, I live on my chunk of the home quarter here now. What's left of it is all we have left in the family, and the way things are going, that's probably gonna be history here sooner than later. But there's not much a guy can do about it. That's the true cost of of what I'm trying to explain to everybody. What's the effect of these, what's really going on in the oil and gas industry. How from who these directors and officers are all the way through how the politicians interact and how the globalism and geopolitics and politics interacts to get us where the situation we're talking about now, where we're at the point of, the West is really, separation is probably a good thing for the West, but it's not going to go down without a lot of blood. It's just, let's face it, just get comfortable with that idea. I am. I mean, I'm good with it. But I come from a different stock. A lot of people don't come from my type of stock. That gentleman there run a guide outfit. I mean, many years ago when I was a youngster, when I was on the guide outfit, I used to be left out in the bush sometimes, 2-3 weeks by myself with a string of animals, because the hunters wouldn't come in. It didn't matter to our pocketbook, because they prepaid for the hunts. So I mean, they'd show up, and every now and again I'd have myself a new pet. Generally a grizzly bear, but I don't know, for some reason they like to be my pet. But I always thought they were kind of cool. I got one that comes in here every spring and every fall on his way back, comes through here. So, but when you're raised around that type of stuff, it's not too not as scary as most people think it is. But you city folks might have a little problem with it, or people that aren't used to it. I mean, I come home sometime and I got Buddy Elk on my deck. They don't want to get off, so I got to set the dog on them. There's all sorts of weird things. But anyhow, that's the type of lifestyle that I was raised with. I mean, I understand what happens when a pack of wolves gets on an underling population, and then they kill them all, and they start killing for sport, and they get into a herd of cattle or a herd of horses, and again, it gets to the point where they start killing for sport. So once they get overpopulated, unfortunately, we've interfered, so we have to continue to interfere. So when you get things like the caribou argument that they tried to pull here, the problem with that argument was that the caribou population down here, this portion of the woodland caribou, they don't have the food source, so there's really never been a lot of them around here. And I know that personally, because this was our guide outfit. We guided all these outfits. The old man had them. I mean, I used to ask the same question, because I think I've only ever seen 2 in the bush. And he said, well, you don't see them very often around here, because they're not from here. We don't have the food source down here for them. The closer you get to the mountains, the less food source you have for them. So, it's kind of, you have other underlings that take over. Underling being those are your deer, the deer family, right? Moose, elk, deer, caribou. So that's in case you don't know what that term references to. But aside from a little history lesson, just give you a little bit more information of who I am. But let's get back into what we're here to talk about. The last video I told you that we put the field service management system up for sale. Now you can say everything's for sale at some point or another. The problem with selling the field service management system, and the reason that we can do it now, as I described in the last one, the lawsuit with the PMO, put a deposit of the information that you need if any of you guys get hurt, where you can see you can assess the liability from the all the way up through the chain of command, all the way up from the PMO's office up to the Premier's offices, up to the WCB boards, all the way up. So if you get hurt serious enough and you have enough resources to hold in your pocket, well, there you go. That's everything you need. Again, file number 22760, Dawson Creek Registry. Get a copy of the transcript. Include that in your court case, and pretty much the government's going to, whoever you're suing is going to have a hell of a time countering it. Again, that goes into the 17 years with the field service management system. On top of them utilizing it, not paying for it, what they've done to themselves is by acknowledging it, they've acknowledged that the factuality of accountability is in there, and they've ignored accountability. Therefore, all the incidents, accidents, deaths, and injuries that have occurred, going back over that time period, A lot of those should be reinvestigated under Bill C-217.1 or the old C-45, 217.1 of the Canadian Criminal Code. There's no real statute of limitations, and a lot of people should lose everything they own, and probably they should go to jail. Now, that being said, that issue being there creates another problem. We have those environmental movements, and we talked about them. I mean, there's three main competitions. There's more. There's some out of Europe too, but the three main ones we know about. Everybody knows about the Rockefeller Group and the tar sands campaign. At the time, the tar sands, that was 17 years ago too, by the way. So they created that. At the time, the tar sands campaign was being created. Right, we call it. People with intelligence realize that's oil, not tar, but they can call it whatever they want. Tar, which I guess you could say is bitumen, is the most abundant oil spill in the world. I mean, your roads are made out of it. It's almost pure bitumen. That's why our oil sands are, the price of our oil that we get for it goes up in the spring. But we don't want to get people too interested in reality here. We'll listen to mainstream media for our full reality. But anyhow, the problem with field service management system is if it falls into the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. So if George Soros has it, all right, or Tom Steyer or the Rockefeller Group, whether it be through their tar sands campaign, their tide foundations, and all the whatever other foundations they got sitting up here, so they're having an issue with transferring the capital, and the government's the government's starting to get caught up, and they're going to have to at some point start putting an end to this foreign investment. Foreign involvement. I mean, we know we had tons of foreign interest happen out in our election, and interesting enough, it wasn't the Russians. Well, I guess that's America's. Yeah, that's right. Wrong country. But anyhow, to make things a little bit more simpler for you, the field service management system, if it would fall into these people's hands, it would be sold through the corporation. They would have a legal entity which they could now legally inside of Canada go ahead and demand payment for the use of this intellectual property. Now, this has been going on for a long time. See, you've heard me set this up for you guys, and I can explain it to you. And I've set it up with the industry, the government. Everybody knows, right, that there's a price point set that the industry set on this May 23rd and October 4th letters of last year. Twice they set the same price point. Right, they allowed me to set the price point. Nobody ever disagreed with it. So we're looking at $35,000 a year. Now, we set that point because it was a small claims action in BC is $35,000, and in Alberta it's $50,000. But just to keep it simple. Is that a reasonable price? Well, it's like anything else. If it's if you buy a Ferrari for for $200,000, and you can go buy a GT 500 for $70,000, and it kicks the hell out of the Ferrari, that's whatever you can sell it for, right? So I mean, it's just a product. So I mean, it's intellectual property. Intellectual property is a product like anything else. So by selling the product, what happens if say the Rockefeller Group or the tar sand campaign buys it? Now they have a way to come to all the service industry and to the oil and gas industry and say cease and desist. Now they have the resources. See, I don't have resources, but I got kahunas, and that's the difference. But they got the resources to come in here and say, well, hold on a second, you've been using that for 10 years. I don't care who you are or how big you are. Are you going to cease and desist, or we're going to start seizing your equipment? And they have a legal right to do that. That's the problem. That's not going to take very long. I mean, you can't deny it's sitting right in the book. I mean, Inform wrote it right in the damn book for them. Right there you go. Everybody that's taken the safety plan builder course, they've all seen it. Chapter 3. There you go. Field service management system. We go through the process of what it works like. It's basically they just took the marketing plan and stuck it in the book. So that's kind of an interesting thing to do. So here now you got a company, or you got enemies of the people, let's say, of most of the people that are workers in the oil and gas industry. So how are you going to sell it to them, right? Are they showing interest? Well, they always kind of show a little bit of interest. We generally ignore it. If my partners are watching this video, they're going to be really annoyed because I haven't told them I've done this yet. But I had a conversation with even myself. I have to go and have people that are older business people. I have conversations with. And he said, well, who else could be interested? How can you set up a competition? Then I got asking questions and I realized that, the Soros organizations, same as the Steyer, Thomas Steyer or Rockefellers, they have two sides to them. And, the Vivian Krauss article that just came out is pretty good at explaining that. So what they do is they manipulate this industry down with the environmental group so that they can profit off it on the other side, right? So on their investment side. So the investment side is making money off what their environmental side does. So the environmental people, those are the useful idiots, right? And they're very good at using them. Most of them haven't got, they're intellectually not very smart. They think they're intellectual, but they're not. It doesn't matter. They've been indoctrinated into this right is wrong and wrong is right and up is down and down is up world that we seem to be living in now. So what we did is we looked at said, okay, so if we send an offer to George Soros and Soros Open Society, well, this foundation, Open Society, send one off to Rockefeller, saying we sent one to George Soros, send one off to Tom Steyer, I keep saying Steyer even though I addressed him that way, not that I care much. It's not like we're going to sit down and sing Kumbaya together. He is running on the Democratic ticket, trying to win the primary so he can run against Trump. Good luck. I don't think he's going to last much longer. But Tom Steyer's, these are all billionaires. They have billionaire foundations. They put in a lot of money because they make a lot of money out of the oil and gas industry, out of energy industry, out of the banking sectors. So they spend a lot of money on one side harming them, or driving the price down so they can play the markets and do what they do to make their money. So that's kind of where we're at. Is if I gave them the field, not gave it to them, but sold them the field service management system, and it's cheap. I mean, whatever they want to bid above 150 million US, they can have it. So the problem is, that's cheap. That's peanuts. We've already done the math. By the time you went through the cease and desist for how many of these companies have been around, even people that are no longer in business, then you go after all their assets and everything they've got. We're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars. The oil and gas industry is pretty much on the hook for it. It's going to drive that share price down to nothing. You can guarantee as soon as they pull this out, they're going to short the hell out of that market. Right? They're going to make tens of billions of dollars more on that. I mean, it's a win-win for them, whoever takes it on. Then of course, on the other side of that, we have the class action suit. So the class action suit, that's we offered that to you. That was our gift to the workers and the supply chain businesses. Is now they have a chance if they get on it. So we have found a law firm, and we're going to give them the information. We're going to find out where we're at, because they do require the field service management system. The field service management system, that's 17-year history sitting there. That's it can't be ignored, right? I mean, there's no way of ignoring it. You knew this would happen. You knew if you did this. If we talk about it in the field service management and the business plan portion of it, how we can't do the things that they've done because that would be extortion. And what do? They do exactly what we said you can't do because it's going to be extortion. So what are they doing? They're extorting people. And they did it on purpose. Well, here's the thing. Here you have a document that they all received. They all part and parcel of from the government, right, through the industry, right, through the people that have been notified. They're the new directors, officers and directors. So some of them haven't been there for 17 years. But they know about it now. I mean, if they're smart, they'd be quitting in droves. I mean, if Trudeau had left, they would have been quitting. Now you can guarantee a lot of them are sitting there smirking, thinking they're funny. But here's the problem: a lot of those people, as we discussed in the last video, they're put in place by these organizations to do their bidding, right? So again, because of their connections through the banking systems and the southern oil and gas industry. These three main players that fund our environmentalist movement, they kind of, the idea is if we can get a competition. They don't actually like to work too much together. They like to work in opposition to each other. So we can get a competition going between them, and that's kind of what we focused on here. Let's see if we can get a competition going between these guys. So that's the idea behind us offering it to them, so that all three of them know that it's there, it's on the table. They don't have to worry about the issues any longer with foreign money coming in and the government setting laws there, because the laws as far as investment and owning a business in Canada are totally different. Right now, as the investors and the legal owners, if they so choose to buy it, a field service management system, they can basically wreak all the havoc they want. They can shut this industry down to nothing. Now, that's a good news, bad news thing. By spring, people are going to be so angry. I mean, I'll have to go hide, of course, but by springtime, they're going to, there's going to be blood in the streets. Who are you going to go after? Are you going to go after those CEOs and those officers and directors of these oil companies? They're one of the first people you're going to go after. Why? Because, I mean, hey, just like everybody else, you're losing everything you got, right? I know the feeling. Hey, I'm sitting here, like I said, I might only be a few more days left on my own property. So I know what it feels like. But, I've done everything I can. I can't go out of my way to beg you people to do what's good for you, right? So, I mean, hey, I tried till there was nothing left. I had nothing left to try, but we tried. So, I didn't leave it at that. I didn't say, okay, we're just going to take it to these environmentalist moves, let them destroy our business. No. I decided, let's be fair. So we went to the federal government. Why would Trudeau want to buy the field service management system? On top of the fact that he's got this, this court case that got away on them, and they didn't understand the purpose behind the court case was just to file the information into a court registry, so it sits there so anybody could use it, and there we go. Right? So, their counter, which was jurisdictional, that's a technicality that had nothing to do with the issue. So there was no real attempt to try to dispute the issues that were arisen. And then to the transcription portion of the settlement conference, we got to talk about how it's killed people and harmed the environment and done all these things, and asked the Attorney General and the judge if they were willing to take it on again. We've gone through this before. They, of course, shied away from it. But that's all good news, because that's all sitting there transcribed in the documents. It works very well if you end up in a position that you're never needed. It's we've done that for you, so that there you go. Right? You're welcome. I know you're all saying thank you right now. Probably not, but you probably still don't understand it. Tell your lawyer about it if you ever get hurt. That's all you need to know. You say, yeah, there was this big old bald bastard. He was talking there. You'll get it. You'll get the point. Anyhow, so the other piece we want to for our federal government, the federal government is in a position right now that if it doesn't want separation to happen, if it doesn't want people to go to arms, it's going to have to somehow move this. Building one pipeline ain't going to do it. They have to come up with some program or some incentive to get people back to work, because people are tired of losing everything, and people are angry. This is not just a little bit. This is I was around in the 80s when everybody lost their stuff. I watched a lot of people lose a lot of stuff. Luckily I was fairly young and could still do a lot of couch surfing. But nowadays I understand how those people felt. Right now the suicide rates, because people aren't, they don't come from this type of background anymore. There's not that many of these people come from here anymore. So the suicide rates are a little bit higher than they were back then. People back then were more willing to kick their heart out down the road, go get drunk and punch somebody out and carry on the next day. But nowadays, they talk a game, right? They've been taught, trained, fed fluoride their whole life, so they have a different sense of maturity, I guess you could say. So unfortunately, people handle things different. I mean, it's stressful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, nobody's perfect. I mean, I'm not enjoying this either. So that's up to the federal government. If if Trudeau doesn't buy into it, then he's going to have his buddies on the other side. He's already buddies with Soros, right? The Rockefeller Foundation won't be that far behind him. Steyer and Soros, that doesn't look like they're too close themselves. So at one point they used to do things together, but it seems like they're kind of in competition with each other now. Again, they do the exact same thing. They want to destroy on one hand so they can reap the profits on the other hand. And if you think that full of shit, I'll tell you what, I got to meet a guy by the name of Maurice Strong in person in the 80s when I was I was dating a lady whose father, he's long deceased now, but we lived together for 6 years, and her father and their mothers were very well-heeled Albertans. They heavily invested in the oil and gas industry. There was a few CEOs in the family. So every Sunday we had to get together for dinner, and I had an occasion of get to meet him a few times. And after dinner, we'd all go down and have our brandy in the smoking room and play billiards. Yeah, that life really existed. So the one of the things we talked about, of course, in late or early 70s, Maurice Strong, through the Rockefeller Foundation, created what's considered the modern day environmentalist movement. So one of the questions is, how do you work in the oil and gas industry? And because of course he's well known in Alberta for oil and gas. He's a Canadian. He came out of Winnipeg originally and met John Rockefeller when he was a youngster. So I said, so how do you do it? And he said, well, you can't get your way if you just do one thing. If you just go, if you're constantly on one side, right, there's always going to be opposition. So if you create the opposition, you control the opposition, you control both sides, then you can profit in the middle. So now you understand what they've been doing to you, and they've been doing it for a long period of time. So that's coming from the horse's mouth. The horse has been dead since 2012, but that's too bad. One of the other things that the other groups that we went to, we said, okay, let's go to the provincial governments. So the provincial government, of course, we gave them their lengthy notification to WCB boards and encouraged them to go find their own paperwork, because I mean, right now with this stuff going up for sale, you're going to have a lot of freedom of information requests coming out. The government themselves is complicit. They didn't do their due diligence in protecting intellectual property, and then on top of it, they involved themselves with it, or they actually utilized the intellectual property. So the government at some point is going to have to answer for that, and that's going to be a hell of a financial reward for somebody. Again, I don't think I got I don't have the resources personally to do it. It's the thing. I was born with a set of balls, but I wasn't born with a lot of resources. So that's kind of where we're at with that. It's just, you get sick and tired of people ripping you off, and that's kind of how I know how to do this, because it's been, this isn't our first hoedown. This has gone on many times, and you have people look you right in the face and say, yeah, I'm stealing your business, and here's my lawyer, and here's what I make, and there's your lawyers. Ask your lawyers how long it's going to take to defend that, and the answer comes back about 100 years, and 100 years you're going to be long broken, we'll all be dead, but I'll win. That's kind of how you do business in Canada, the people we're doing business with. So the other way to do it is you can get physical and kill them. That's been done. I mean, we just had a guy in Calgary not too long ago. I'm pretty sure he got caught, but he killed the husband, the wife, and the grandchild. I'm pretty sure that I can't say for positive, but I have a funny feeling that was over a bad business deal. So is he wrong? Well, the grandchild probably didn't deserve it, but the others, if they did steal from him. I mean, I'm at the point now, I'm sick and tired of people stealing. I'm sick and tired of people coming on the property and stealing everything I got, as is everybody else. But it's kind of the way things work. So what was the next group? So if the government doesn't want to buy into it, if the provincial government wants to sit there and be a victim, there's 3 provincial governments that I'm talking about here. That's Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. So they've all known about this. They've all signed on to the extortion and the unauthorized use of intellectual property. They're all had a fiduciary duty to me as a citizen to look after my due diligence. They didn't do so, or they didn't do their due diligence, right? But they had a responsibility to look after my interest. They didn't bother, right? They used it, so they're no better than the guy come and told me to take 100 years, and my 3 law firms that were all partners kind of agreed. We had another avenue to go, and we did go the other avenue, because what he was stealing was what we call the gimmick portion of it. It was he wasn't smart enough to understand, and which he didn't. He spent a lot of money on that, ended up losing in the end. But he wasn't smart enough to understand that was just the cover for what was actually really going on. And we talked about the story the other in 9/11, where the 2 partners, we'd sold it off, and the 2 partners ended up the 2 people that were out raising funds just happened to be in New York during 9/11. That's kind of oh well, that story, we told that story, we don't need to tell it again. So where are we going from now? So that left one group. He said, well, what about the industry? The industry, we've gone back to them again through CAP, and we continue to say, okay, here's your chance, here's an opportunity. We put together an offering memorandum, and we purposely left the offering memorandum flawed. And the flaw was at the very last page, because of the way it was written, it described the criminality that's going on. So they understood in no uncertain terms when they went through there that this is with this 17 years, this system being out there and being within you guys utilizing it, even in a part or a portion. So that's the thing about copyright law. I mean, if you look at a song, it only takes a tiny little portion of a riff, and that song belongs to that person who wrote that original riff. And that's kind of what the copyright. You can thank the entertainment industry and the music industry for improving intellectual property laws. In Canada, we're very weak in our intellectual property laws, as we are in our real estate property laws, our real property laws. But these certain arguments that have existed, that have come out because of their international excuse me, because of the international activity that goes on around them, they likewise are more or less, standardized rules across the board now. So yes, we've gone to the industry again. So the industry is the last party, or actually the first party, first and last, and says, okay, here, we've gone to these other groups. Now, what are you guys going to do? Well, now we're going to start following up, because we're just going to spend the rest of this week and next week, and whatever. It's just going to be a constant follow-up. What do you guys want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Then at some point, we're just going to take it and we're going to start dumping this into the media. Now, it's kind of hard to do anything with the media post-election, of course. The election, it's post-election, pre-election, it was election, post-election, it's been separation. So we're kind of trying to find something in the middle. So we're letting it die down. While we're letting it die down, we're going to see if these people are actually interested in it. Now, again, we've talked about the class action suit, so that's the last thing. We've got a law firm waiting for me to get back to them with the information. I'm pretty sure that that'll be a go. Again, but if we go forward with that, then we're probably missing out on money on the other side. If somebody buys it, it's up to them whether they want to do that, or it's up to you people under freedom of information to go back to your governments and get that information right from your government and present it to these law firms. So at that point, I'm basically, I've gone as far as I can. My advisors have just said, okay, enough, Tim. It's time to monetize this. Take your money. You can't save the whole damn world. Take what you get and let it go. I mean, and like I told you before, if it ends up going to one of these environmentalist groups, if you think that we're even going to get this pipeline done, it doesn't matter. The government can approve all the pipelines in the world. They're going to shut down the industry. And they're going to have a right, again, they're going to legally have the right to do so. The industry isn't doing anything to protect themselves, because they should have jumped on that offering memorandum and said, hey, just straighten out these sections they were told about. I want to put out there, do not sign this, because if we do, it's an admission of guilt. But we can take those sections out and straighten it out. It was a nice, cheap, easy way to do it. Right, again, the problem is that you have a lot of people that are very powerful that are controlling the compliance networks that are making their gravy off that, and they really don't give a shit about you. Right, as far as they're concerned, I mean, we all know this. What we have for safety today is garbage. Right? I mean, just look at the statistics. The statistics prove it out. Safety is worse today. The safety record is worse today when there wasn't when quote unquote there was no safety. The environmental records is horrible. Right? I mean, it's the problem with statistics is there's an old saying, numbers lie and liars use numbers, but our statistics lie and liars use statistics. But there is always a little bit of truth to some statistics. So I mean, we haven't had a lot of man hours work. We're going to have a lot of green people if we ever do get back to work. If this happens, basically you can kiss the industry goodbye. They thought it was a long time getting back to work in the 80s. If one of these environmentalist groups, whether it be the Rockefeller Foundation or the Steyer Group or the Soros Group buys this field service management system, they're going to wreak havoc on this industry for a long time, and it's going to cause. If you thought people were poor and broke now, it's going to get even worse. And here's the thing about it: if you don't think that's going to piss people off, because I mean, you're going to forget that I told you this is where it came from, but your oil and gas industry couldn't care. Right? These guys sitting on the 64 top companies, this 637 directors, they couldn't give a shit. It's as little as basically 100 companies putting up $1.5 million of their shares. That's nothing. They own it. They've made billions off it already. They've put billions of dollars off in their pockets from this intellectual property. What do you think is going to happen when somebody that has the resources comes and says, "Okay, I want my money back"? Well, you think it's going to cost them 1.5 million shares? No, it's going to cost them somewhere about 150 million shares each. Probably it's going to cost them. Most of these companies are going to go bankrupt. So then they're going to go after the share. They're going to go after the shareholders. They're going to go after the officers and directors, and it's going to look good on them, because the simple solution was there: fix it, fix the problem, get back to get accountable, get transparent, get efficient, right? And we can have a real business at safety. And guess what? We can scale up this business real fast. We know where the crap laying in the bush is, but you've made it impossible to do those things. I mean, you don't need a socialist government, right? Our industry acts like the damn socialist government. We've gone over that before. So anyhow, guys, I don't know who's gonna bite, who's not gonna bite. Like I said, we're gonna keep pushing it for a while. All I know is that I only had so many pennies, right? When you run out of pennies, you run out of pennies. So I mean, I can only give you people so much. So I'm going to try my best to look after you, right? My fellow workers, my fellow my fellow oil and gas compatriots, right? My fellow Western citizens, and what ends up happening is the environmental side gets it. That's good. They can control the damn industry. We'll be so ripe and pissed off by springtime that we can at least get this separation thing happening. So at least something positive can come out of it. Who knows? Anyhow, whether you agree with me or not doesn't matter. It's my opinion. You guys have a wonderful night. I'm gonna call it a night.